Hi. Hello around the world. This is episode 64 of the International Art Alliance, making the Palimpsest project where we send art literally, figuratively, physically around the world to each other to work on consecutively. So I send it to Denise in
Hi.
the Montreal area in Quebec, who sends it to Stephanie, who's in the Toronto area, actually Toronto in Canada, who sends it to Rose, also in Canada, in the British Columbia area, who sends it to Laura, who's in the United Kingdom,
Hi.
who sends it to Cheryl, who's in Australia, the farthest away, who then sends it back to maybe to me. She started a new piece. She sent it to me. I'm Ross in Los Angeles. And today we are getting together to discuss really something pretty vital to our project. And it has to do with prioritization and finishing. Because originally we had agreed that we would spend, like 2 weeks per layer, because that's how this works. We make a layer, we send it off to each other. And I know for myself, sometimes it's just taking me way longer. I can't even tell you how much longer it's really taking. Um, and I know that this
Me
is
too.
showing up in other areas of my artwork. Um, sometimes it's because I have to do the things that pay first. But then other times it's because I just don't know what the hell I'm doing. Does anybody else run into these things? Like you got to do something first, and Stephanie's raising her
Oh yeah,
hand. What's
all
happening
the
for you?
time, all the time, man,
Yeah.
all the time. So same thing. Like I have to do what pays first, and I've recently just acquired a part-time job, so that's taking up a lot of my time. And I find that I immerse myself so deeply into that part-time job, which I actually really do enjoy. But it doesn't really have anything to do with art. That by the end of the day, I'm kind of spent, and I'm just like, I don't feel like painting. But then on the next day, I'll start and do something, and then I'll get sidetracked by something that needs to be done around the house. So it's just, it's really kind of for me. I think it's a matter of really scheduling and really being strict with myself. Um, I think that's what I
Yeah.
Hmm. How does
be
being
more
strict with
strict with
yourself
myself.
usually work, by the way?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. No, it really doesn't. Like I kind of like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Oh, but first I'm gonna do this, and oh, I have to eat, and oh, I have to work out, and so I think I don't know. I just but I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to settle in with this new job, and it's not I'm not going to be putting in as many hours to learn the job. So hopefully I'll just have more energy to paint.
Yeah, I'm usually
You're gonna.
pretty good with keeping to the two weeks, but I ran into this
You are.
problem with the last piece that is actually on its way to you now, Ross, because I was doing these two shows in early April, sort of back to back, one in New York and one in Toronto, and I got the box right before I left for New York. And I knew I would have to a week in between two shows, so I sort of figured I would work on it then. But then there was just so much stuff, like follow up for shows with potential collectors, and I was just also just mentally drained. And I had, on top of that, I had one piece that needed to go to the other show that I needed to finish, and I needed to varnish these pieces that I hadn't been able to varnish because of the weather here. So there was just no time, and I felt so guilty because I was like, you guys are waiting. Like I knew you were waiting for it, sort of, and I'm usually pretty good at like planning these things, so I felt really bad about it.
Mm. Well, we
I
forgive you.
also had to, yeah.
Rose, what were you gonna say?
Well, it's part of the process because we're talking about working artists here, so it's not a hobby that you just pick up and put down after you've done all your other life chores. It's something that, as we say, we have to try and find a way to schedule around, even though we're also dancing with the creative muse.
There's that too. Yes.
Well, yeah,
There's
and I think that's something that a lot of us run into as well. That it's because it's something so outside of our normal art practice. It
Hmm.
takes a little bit to set your mind to working on it, And then sometimes it takes a little bit of time to figure out what it is what you actually want to do with it, because it's so different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because we're doing that sort of like setting our ego aside and trying to service the artwork for this particular project. So it's a bit of a different balancing act in terms of like, okay, how do I even let myself touch this beautiful thing?
I know.
And then how do I know when I'm finished?
Yep. The age-old question, right?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, that's a very age-old question. And then not only are we, okay, I'll speak for myself. Do I consider the beautiful artwork that's arrived, but then I think about the beautiful person that sent it, and like I really want to get into that relation, hold that relationship. I hold it so dear. Then it's like, I guess you'd call it perfectionism. I don't know. I think Cheryl probably has the loosest relationship with perfectionism. It's like, you'll just go paint. And I think Laura too, you're very focused, and you have your I think your process is fairly well comes out of you easily. That's my impression of your work. I don't know if that's actually true though.
I think that the problem is to find the right moment to do something, because we are not working on something. I think that we can consider ourselves as artists. So art is not working in any moment. I cannot do the same thing every day. I cannot wake up and say, okay, on Monday I paint this kind of stuff, on Tuesday another thing. Unfortunately, every morning when I wake up, I'm doing many things in the same time, because in this moment, for example, I'm writing 3 books, different subject. I'm working on a series that it is exciting me, but I think it will take 1 year to finish everything. And so probably I would need to be more able to plan everything, because in this time I'm putting myself on the field, because in this project I talk about this project to some people that so I have some commitment, but it's difficult because also when the pieces arrive to me, I don't know how to explain. I have to feel what I want to paint. I cannot put myself in front of the painting and say, okay, whatever. I cannot do it. I have to feel it, and unfortunately, it's not. It's like a roller coaster, and yeah, it's frustrating many times because I feel incapable. I feel the imposter syndrome. So I said, I am not an artist. I'm not able to do anything, and so I down myself. But if deep inside, I think it's how my mind works. So I really every morning, I don't know, when I wake up, I don't know what I'm going to do that day. The only thing that it's really I cannot move are my kids, whatever is related to my kids, and payment about the bill that I cannot postpone. But
urgent.
put my what I'm my art, my writing in a cage, because if not, I would go to work 9 to 5 somewhere if I have to do it. I done it because at the beginning, when I get married, I left apart all what was about my art, and I went to work. It wasn't 9 to 5, but more or less, because that changes. But it was something that it wasn't art. It was something to work to have money at the end of the month. And I think it's a difficult choice, but I want to do what my soul keep telling me to do.
Yeah, it's not something that soul switch. You know the soul switch? You can just turn it on and off, right? Cheryl, do you have that switch?
I often think that if you can limit things, that you can often get a lot done. And so I
Right.
often think that sometimes that we can thrive with limitations. So I often see that as a puzzle, that I get this particular work and I've got to get it out of here. So come on, girl, let's switch it on. Let's switch it up. Like you've got a puzzle, you've got a deadline. Come on, you know, what's the best that you can do in the least amount of, I don't know, time. I don't know. I just sort of think that limitations are often aren't always that bad. You know, yeah, a limited palette. I often think that you can thrive within a small amount. I find that concept of having too much choice always does my head in.
Right.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. I always remember a particular marketer sort of saying that you have to go deep rather than broad. And I have noticed many people and many artists or many people that I teach, they have cupboards full of stuff. They can't sort of settle whether they're an oil painter or whether they're working with acrylics or whatever they're doing. And it seems to be just a taste test of everything. And I often get that vibe that often it's just this acquisition of art equipment. And I've done that. But I'm just saying I can see the advantages of just being tight sometimes.
But that's
Right.
part of what makes this process or this project particularly a little bit more difficult, because we are stepping outside of our own sort of thing. So you everything sort of opens up, which means that you sort of move away from all those limitations that you usually set for yourself. Right?
Yeah.
That's why for me, it's a bit like having to have a little time to build a relationship with the piece and not just dive in on the first day that it arrives. Like that, I need a little time to kind of get even to, like, I talk about phenomenology. Well, the phenomenology of this project is that the tangible piece of art, I need to sit with it a little bit and even look at it from different angles and just, you know, check the texture and check out all the sensory phenomena of the piece to build a relationship of some kind with it before I go and dive in and put my mark in there.
Sure.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's really, this is not an ink blot test that we get and we're like, oh, that's, you know, two people. You know, it's we have to, when I say we have to, it's like we're compelled to, in our souls, to bring out the best in what's been presented to us in some way that's real, right? Not just some kind of knee-jerk reflexive kind of thing. I love that you're talking about the phenomena of the piece, because well, for one, it's like hugely philosophical and I barely understand it. And it implies something really special about the pieces that we're sending to each other, you know, in their physicality and the concept. And this isn't simply canvas or in our case board, right? This is a phenomena that we're experiencing in our relationships with each other, and you know, then we get together and we talk about them, and it's a fairly, I guess as Cheryl said, it's a deep dive into relationships, and I hadn't really thought of it that way before.
Good way to think of it though, but because it's true.
But you can do different stuff with this. You can just do different stuff with it. You don't have to do these same old, because I always think someone else will fix it up.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. Denise, you're on.
Oh boy.
That's hysterical.
No, but
Hey,
it's
you know,
funny
I
because
could say something like, "Hey, look, guys, I was just, just starting you off. I was just giving you a little bit of motivation. I was just hoping that you would just take it and run with it."
No, but it's interesting because when you, at least for me, when I see a piece and I I want my layer to make the piece grow, to evolve it into where I feel it is at a higher level than it was before, because that's my job as
sure.
part of this project, is to elevate the piece from where it was to a higher level, and then send it on to somebody who's going to elevate it another level. And it's sometimes difficult to figure out what that thing is. And for me personally, I find that reading the intentions really helps me get going, because I sometimes have, like you say, this knee-jerk reaction when you first see it, that you're like, oh, that's the thing that needs to happen. And then you read everything and you're like, oh no, actually the thing that needs to happen is this other thing.
This other thing. Yeah.
But you need time for that. And also I feel like, and that's just probably in the process, like particular, like, how do you say that? The compartmentalized way in which I work is that I need to find a specific space in my week, or in my 2 weeks for this, in this case, where I can make my mind quiet enough to work on this thing. Like I have to like set aside a chunk of time to sort of focus, because otherwise I cannot do it like in the middle of my day or something. I have to say I'm going to start this day working on this, and it might last all day. It also might just last 2 hours.
Yeah, it's
Right?
true. I find myself thinking about it at like the weirdest times of the day. And then when it comes time to actually doing it, then it's like, okay, now I finally have that idea. But it's true. The ideas, it's hard for the ideas to generate those ideas sometimes, and to do the piece justice, right? And as Ross said, like we're all very aware, like now we've gotten to know each other, but it is, this passing on of painting to painting, and layering all of these paintings is a relationship. It's between all of us, right? So I don't know, I'm just very like, oh, I hope she's okay with this or he's okay with this, and I don't want to destroy the painting. Always, I feel that way every single time I open one of your paintings.
I have just two things I want to kind of bring together here. So one is that both Rose and Denise, you both work, it's not indirectly, but the rest of us really work very directly with material. There's not a lot of process between our hand and the media, but you guys have, for lack of a better way to say it, a mediated kind of a process, and that really does physically take longer to do. And I wonder how that impacts the doing of it. And then the second point is not really that related, but I just want to note it, that really, so the palimpsest could also be redaction, right? Like scraping out, changing it but I don't really think that any of us do that. We're always like thinking about what can I add into this? And
well, we sometimes sort of scrape out in the way that we go over something that was there before, right?
Yeah.
So you sort of take it.
I don't know.
I
Still
do.
adding.
That's layering. That's
Really?
not reducing. That's
No.
still additive.
Well,
It is
for example,
additive,
in the piece that Denise is going to open, you'll see that I actually did paint over, because that was kind of what Cheryl had wanted, right? To say I did paint over it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, but in adding something, you sometimes take away something that was there before.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in a way, in a sort of roundabout way, you do take away something. Although I always try to be careful when I choose to go over something to make the layer not super opaque, but to make sure that there's still something visible of the layer underneath.
Yeah. I still think that's different than
It is.
Than redacting.
Yeah.
Than redacting.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I guess with acrylics, it's really difficult to sort of scrape away something.
You'd be surprised.
What?
Yeah.
Take a razor blade
You'd be
to it.
surprised at what I've done.
Oh yeah.
Especially with different printmaking techniques, where you're adding and then subtracting to make a plate and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like colograph and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
It is a different thing when we're dancing amongst each other's toes, creatively and spiritually in each layer.
Our toes? I like that.
Yeah, as in not to step on each other's toes. We're
Right.
dancing on each other's toes. I love
Yeah.
that. It's so
It's
Yeah.
interesting
good.
that you say that though, because honestly, in all the time that we've been doing this, it had never actually occurred to me to take something away. It
Yeah.
Nor
literally
me.
never
Mhm.
has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's reflective of the relationship that we've been building amongst, and especially the sharing of the intentions, the considered written intentions. I think
Mhm.
enhances that sense of, oh, okay, this I want to keep this part of what this artist is trying to convey, and this is how I think I'm able to keep it, and then add to it. And yeah, none of us have gone in and gone, oh, I got to take that part out.
Yeah, I think it's respecting and honoring the previous artist's work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our relationships that we're building amongst each other, it's kind of like if we were just a bunch of students in a random group that had been put together by the teacher doing a similar project, I think there would be a different whole experience.
Oh, sure, it would be.
I wonder
We
what they
wouldn't
would
that-
work
in
through.
here, okay?
But wouldn't that relate to personality, Rose, more so than?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. It's how
I mean,
we're building
we just, yeah.
this relationship amongst them. This is the growth, and the artwork literally is the
Yeah.
production.
What I meant was that we have had some changes in the group, and the changes in the group were because the other people didn't have the time or the space to develop this group.
Yeah.
If you get
Yeah,
my
and there's
drift, like
Yeah.
a level of accommodation right there, even just in interrelating before we even made the artwork, where now we're seeing that accommodation is being showing up
Yeah.
when we're making the artwork as well.
But I'm suggesting that that's a personality trait rather than a, you know,
and as I
that's
said,
us,
we self-selected. We're
Yeah,
a
yeah.
self-selected
Yeah.
group, which
Yeah.
would probably be different, like a whole different dynamic if we were not self-selected.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be. Although
If
I
we
wonder
were
if you
a
wouldn't
corporate,
always.
one of those corporate projects
Yeah.
where we're supposed to develop team development, that would be a totally different thing.
Denise,
It would
what
be
were
an
you saying?
interesting experiment, because I would think that over time you would get to a similar
Maybe.
dynamic.
Maybe. Yeah, over time.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it does depend on the people involved. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think that
I'm-
we're I don't know if conciliatory is the right word, but we're conducive to having a smooth, peaceful, loving
Yeah.
relationship. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
part
that's
of
true.
what we're looking for. It's
Yeah.
not looking for a grade.
Everybody here, that you're kind and you're accommodating.
Yeah.
That
Right.
doesn't
Yeah.
go for everybody on the planet.
True.
No.
Very true.
It would
Really,
just
and
be
I mean,
one
I
egotistical
watch
person,
watch-
and then it would just be all about them, and they'd be scraping shit off.
Yeah. I watch Stephanie and how you feel. I can see you sometimes, and you just and I want to reach out and I want to say, hey, listen, it's not bad. It's nothing. Come on, don't worry about it. And I see you sometimes how you almost like you feel, oh, have I done something wrong? And I think, oh no, I'm just saying that there's a certain, like, there's different styles of people.
Oh, you're saying my guilty conscience? Is that it? Does it shine through?
No, I don't mean that. No. I don't mean that. I mean, but I mean that is a, the empathic, because I sort of watch you.
Oh, I see.
You feel for everybody. That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah,
Ross is
it's
also,
annoying.
I'm just saying
Ross
that,
is very, yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
and so
Cheryl,
there is
out of
Sorry?
all of us, for you, it sounds like for you it's the easiest to get into these pieces.
Yeah, it does seem like that to me too.
I see. I'm probably the oldest in the group, so I want to have more fun. I don't have as long, I don't have as long to wait around and think about these things.
Putz around.
That's
what a
funny.
happy thought. I love that. Thank you. That's great.
But then if that were the case, then the youngest in the group would have the most difficulty, and that doesn't seem to be. Will be the most hesitant, and that doesn't seem to be the case. So,
Well, speaking of time,
Yeah.
we do have, I think we have an unboxing. We don't
No,
have any unboxing
no,
today. There's not a single one today.
nope.
Oh, well, we'll have to
Oh,
wait
right.
for the next time then.
The
Yeah.
next
I don't
episode,
I don't know if we actually have a solution to what we've been talking about,
right?
but
No, because
I
it is true that we had set this 2 week deadline because we are working towards eventually doing a show, right?
Mhm.
Which means that there needs to be some sort of a deadline. We cannot we don't have the luxury of saying, oh, it doesn't matter how long it takes, right?
Mm.
I also think that you've got to reserve time, not schedule it. Try to be a little bit more,
Oh,
I
that's
don't
a good
know.
way of looking at it.
Mm.
Reserving rather than scheduling it. Yeah, this is my time. Yeah,
It's kind of like how you
Okay.
reserve your seat because you know that's your seat.
right.
I reserved some tickets for the show because I'm going and I'm going to
Mm.
watch the show. So I'm going to reserve the time.
It's a
So
good,
I try
that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, so don't write it in or don't schedule it in your calendar. It sounds like it's more like a to-do. No.
You're right.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right.
It-
It becomes more like a task then, rather than
Yes.
something
Or a
pleasurable.
Sure. Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that reminds me. One of you said about get to do. When you Cheryl, I think you said that too. When you get the piece, and that just the language of that sounds like, oh, when I get the piece, I get to do something with the piece,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, oh, I've got to do this now because now
Yeah.
it's scheduled
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
time. I have to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of changing the just the way we think about it.
Yeah.
How language can affect our
Yeah.
Yeah.
activities.
For me, it's almost like making music. Like my regular practice, it's kind of like I've got this going on and I'm balancing this and I'm planning that. But when our pieces come through, it's like I get to do little jazz improv, little break.
Mm.
Yeah. I get to
Yeah.
play a little bit.
And it's kind of more about responding to what other people are doing than just me, the wheels are churning.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I think it's fun too. I enjoy it.
It is.
Yeah, it is fun.
Oh, I love that. So we're a worldwide sextet. Is that the right word for a six-piece band?
I think so.
I
I think
The
so.
word
That
sextet
sounds
is
Yeah,
on my
because a
top,
7-piece would be septet. So yeah, sextet.
I'm not sure about that.
But it is like music. It is like a band.
Yeah.
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 I hadn't thought of it that way. That's really
We
cool.
have to interact with each other and riff off each other. And
Yeah. Sometimes I think also like, how is this different from other kinds of work I've done, like magazine illustration? And then, it becomes this collaboration between, the art director, the creative director, whoever it is, and, the writer, and but it's so static, right? And what we're doing really isn't static. I think it's a field of shifting ground that's kind of where we're dancing not to step on each other's toes. So there's a real fluidity to this. I think that your how do you say band? Jazz? That's not the right word.
yeah,
Was it
sextet.
band? Sextet was really the it's gonna crack Rose up again. Was really is really a wonderful analogy. It's kind of the perfect analogy because it means that we're in relationship with each other to play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of
And
like,
it really
oh, here
feels
now
like playing.
True.
it does.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
me.
When we finally do it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When we finally get the idea, when it's finally like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So,
So I think we might have a solution,
Sort of.
or a portal, maybe.
change the way we think about it. Is
Change
that
the way we
it?
think about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a lot of. We can all rewatch this episode. I think everyone
Yeah.
said something so deep and interesting here.
well, and I also think that after all this time, we can let go of that a little bit of that fear that we're going to like impose on each other, right? Or going to
Right.
do something that anybody else is going to get mad about, because I don't think
Yeah, we'll
we
see.
we get mad. I think by now
No.
we know that we are all respecting each other to a
The
level.
problem
Yeah.
is that if we get mad of ourselves, it doesn't happen to you. If you are
Oh yeah.
if they're not happy, to be honest, I'm more worried about what I'm feeling, because many times it is myself that I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this is difficult to solve.
Yeah.
That
You
is
know that
another-
we've been together. We've been
Which one?
together as a group like more than 2 years now. 2 years
Really?
and almost 2 months. Well,
No.
1 month anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, we met
wild.
in February. No, but the group started in April.
In
and
April. Yeah. In April, we decided we were going to do a group show, and then we decided we were going to do a group project. And yeah, it's cool.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at us.
Yeah.
64 episodes on.
Anniversary.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, you even have that concept of the commitment too.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's true.
Wow. On that deep ground, let's say goodbye to our fellow artists out in the world, and we'll see you next time for the Palimpsest project.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.